Okay, so now we're ready to do a wrap and turn from the wrong side of the fabric. And what's going to happen is I'm actually going to be doing them from the purl side. This is my stockinette fabric. I'm going to be doing them from the purl side. We added our new yarn, and now the first thing that we have to do is you have to knit across. We always add yarn on the right side of the fabric. I'm going to knit across, and the next row I'm ready to purl. This is going to work the same way as the wrap and turns from the right side of the fabric, meaning that I'm going to be purling partially across the row, and I'm going to stop before I get to the end, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to knit back, and then I'm going to go partially across the row again, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to knit back. And so this time I'm going to be doing my wrap and turns from the wrong side of the fabric. All right, we'll get our little tails out of there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to purl across to the point where I want to do my first turn. Let's get these guys going. Okay, I'm ready to do my first wrap. The first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to insert my needle purlwise. This time I'm going to insert my needle purlwise. My yarn is in front of that stitch. I want to make sure it's not in back of the stitch. I want to make sure that I am in front of the stitch. I'm going to slip that stitch purlwise, and this time I'm going to take the yarn to the back. Between the needles, I'm just going to take the yarn to the back. I'm going to slip that stitch back onto the left needle, and I'm going to turn my work around. Now you can see that I have my working yarn here, and I'm ready to do my knit row. Before I do my knit row, I want to put my marker so that it sits on the front of the fabric. I don't want to put it on the back. I don't want to mark the wrap in the back. I'll show you why in a little bit. When we come to pick these up, I really need to pick it up from the front. So I want to make sure that the marker is around the wrap on the front of the fabric. And now I'm just going to knit to the end of the row. So let's turn around and look at this for a sec. You can see that there's my gap. There's my gap. And the stitch right before the gap has the wrap around it. And now this time my marker's on the front, but it is on the wrap itself. See the wrap? There it is. Okay, great. Let's do one more of those. Again, let's purl to the point where I want to do my turn. I'm just going to purl up to a point, and let's say I'm ready to do a wrap, and I want to wrap this stitch. I want to turn around right now. I want to wrap that stitch. So same thing. I'm going to put my needle in, make sure that my yarn is in the front. I'm going to slip it over, and I put my needle in purlwise this time. On the front we put our needle in knitwise. On the back we're putting our needle in purlwise. I slip it over. I bring my yarn to the back of the fabric, meaning the public side of the fabric. And I'm going to take that stitch and I'm going to slip it right back on. Again, I'm going to turn my work around. And before I go ahead and I knit to the end of the row, I'm going to put a marker on, and my marker is going to be on the front of the fabric. Right around that working, it's really right around the working yarn. And now I'm going to knit to the end of the row. Let's turn around, and you can see I now have two gaps. I have one here, and I have one here, and the markers are on the wrap. And you can see it looks almost like there are two purl bumps right here, one here and one here. That top one is my wrap. Alright, I'll be back in a sec, and I'm going to show you how to pick up the wraps from the purl side of the fabric.